Good afternoon, guys. It's Working, bringing you a very quick update on Bitcoin. Hope you guys are having a wonderful afternoon. We're looking at Bitcoin to the US dollar. This is the 4-hour chart on Coinbase. And Bitcoin hasn't moved much, guys, since yesterday. We had this massive breakdown here, as we talked about. Well, not massive, relatively speaking. Here, this we've kind of been waiting for since we've had this nice little uptrend here. It was inevitable that we would have price breakdown, and of course, as we discussed yesterday, guys, it's no coincidence that it just happened to happen perfectly right at the top of that 4,100 resistance that we had been talking about. Again, wicking above it just briefly, but no decisive break above. And until we do have that decisive break above that 4120 on Coinbase, a little bit higher on Bitfinex, a little bit lower on some other exchanges, but on Coinbase, looking at that 4120, until that does break above, guys, very likely we are just still in this continuation of a bear market until that is broken, until we have evidence of that. That being said, we are seeing evidence of a possible change. As I said, we have that increase in volume, and that is definitely not something to be ignored. All right, so looking at this now, guys, if we zoom in here on the 4-hour chart, we can see that we're getting squeezed here, tighter and tighter, series of lower highs, higher lows, suggesting a possible larger move in this little order structure here. Larger is a rather relative term. In this case, guys, this is looking more like a bearish pennant, which suggests that price may end up breaking back down, testing the bottom of this zone here. It's no coincidence, guys, that as price came down, we can see that it found support right here at this area at about 37.20. Why is that no coincidence? Well, if we come over here and we look at price in the past, let me just find my, here we go, that's what I'm looking for. If we look at price in the past here, guys, we can see when price came up and created this high, where was that high? Right there at that approximate 3700, 3720 zone. So price came back down. What was resistance started acting as support right in that area. And this is the area, if we do end up breaking down, guys, very likely that's going to break down. And where we're going to find is very likely, in my opinion, some support down in this area here, right there, where we saw all kinds of resistance here in the past. There's a couple reasons why that looks like, and that's going to be at approximately on Coinbase, that's going to be at approximately 36.30, somewhere thereabouts, in my opinion. I say that because not only are we looking at the chart here, we can see that that acted as a very strong resistance here in the past for about, let's see, since February 8th to about February 17th, so for about 9 days, that was very strong resistance. But also, if we go and pull our fib, and we go swing low, swing high from this latest order structure, from this overall uptrend here that we'd seen starting off on February the 8th. If you look at that swing low, swing high, we can see that that golden pocket between that 618 fib and that 65 fib level is right there at the top of what was acting as resistance. So very likely, if price does end up breaking down, I wouldn't be surprised for price to find some support sitting right there on Coinbase. That's going to be at about 36.70, 36.50 to 36.70, depending on, actually as low as 36.40 to 36.70, somewhere in that area. So if you're looking for a quick scalp trade, placing buy orders between 36.60, 36 and 36.40 is not a bad idea. If you do that, coming down, targeting the top of this zone at 3,800 for a very, very quick scalp trade. I would not get greedy at all, guys, because we could see price come back down, bounce off that, and then just continue right back down. But if we do get a breakdown, hits that zone, and we get a nice break up, it's also possible that we could come back up here and retest that 4,000 if there's enough buy orders sitting down here. I do think there are some buy orders sitting down here, just a matter of how many. So we'll have to wait and see kind of how that ends up playing out. But I would not get greedy, guys. If you are going to make that trade, I'd get in and I'd get out. At the most, I'd target that 3,800, and that'd be a nice little few percentage points gains if you do make that trade and if that does end up playing out. But I would have a very tight stop loss, probably at about 35.50, knowing if 3,600 does break down decisively, it'll very likely be a very quick drop coming down to about 3,400. All right, zooming back out on this structure, I'm going to go ahead and pull up the daily chart here. Zooming out on this structure, guys, we can see that we have a nice ascending support line that's been respected. Let me get right on there. I didn't really draw that very well. There we go. See, we have a nice ascending support line that's been respected since that February 8th move. So for about, what is that, almost 20 days now, very close to 20 days, just under 20 days, a little over 2 weeks, we'll call it. And so, guys, this would, until this does break down, this would suggest that we may have enough support here for price to end up breaking up, even though this does look like a bearish pennant, in my opinion. So again, this could break in either direction. My opinion, the probability is at least a temporary breakdown, but that's definitely not inevitable whatsoever, guys. And if we come over here and we look at volume, let me go go ahead and refresh it so we have the most current volume. Volume has been slowly dropping off, which does indicate very likely a larger move is going to be coming. Especially because we haven't had we had a large move, but not that larger move since we had that big increase in volume here. So remember, we had volume at 7,000, or excuse me, 7 billion, 9.9, 9.9, slow trickle down to 7.8, 7.8, and then all of a sudden, boom, volume exploded again. Had a slow trickle down yesterday, slow trickle down today, sitting at about 8.4 billion. So I wouldn't be surprised to see another explosion in volume. Now that may be sell orders. We'll have to wait and see how this plays out. That's why I'd be very, very careful with your money. I would not go in heavy either way in one direction or another. If we come over here, in fact, and we look at longs versus shorts, in fact, let me pull out the 4 hours, you can see a little better. We can see that we're getting no real indication. Shorts are basically moving sideways. We come over here and look at longs. Longs, for the most part, also moving sideways. So getting no real indication on which direction market makers may end up driving price here. Let's come over here and let's look at our moving averages and exponential moving averages. Pulling up the daily chart. We can see that 21-day EMA is still acting as support, guys. That's a very, very bullish sign, the fact that that has not yet broken down. It's also looking like 21-day EMA is getting ready to cross that 55. I told you about that a couple days ago. It's kind of been moving sideways, so no real movement as of yet. But if that does happen, that'd be a rather bullish sign, guys. But we are still below this 8-day EMA, and we're kind of bouncing between the 21 and the 8-day EMA for now, again, suggesting a possible larger move to end up coming here in the next few days. So we'll have to kind of watch, wait, and see how this ends up playing out, but there's no question it looks like the market's gearing up for another move. All right, if I come up, zoom in here back into the 4-hour chart, guys, and I pull this out just a little bit further, obviously there's a as I pointed out, we have an ascending support line here. We also have what looks like the possibility of another broadening wedge that's forming here. And kind of, if I draw this out here, guys, you can see how that could end up playing out. Now, in this scenario, we have price ended up breaking down out of a larger broadening wedge. Last time we talked about one, this was this tiny little broadening wedge here coming off of a nice uptrend. This is a larger broadening wedge coming off of a descending wedge here, a bullish sign. But in this case, guys, probability, it would definitely favor to the downside. That being said, it does look like typically what you're looking for in a broadening wedge is you want to see 3 touches, both above and below, before it ends up completing. As of right now, well, if this is in fact a broadening wedge, and I'm not saying it is, guys, if it is, it's a rather sloppy one. So I'm just kind of take this with a grain of salt. But we've had 1, 2, 3 touches on the bottom. We've had 1, 2 touches on the top. So what we could see is a breakup, possibly wicking up above here, touching the top of this zone, and then price just crashing back down. If this ascending support line does end up breaking down, that's going to be your clue that price may end up crashing down here. I'd be watching for that reversal somewhere, as I said, between about 3,600-ish, somewhere thereabouts, guys, 3,600 to or excuse me, 3,700 to 3,650, somewhere in that zone, guys, would be a logical area for a reversal. That being said, though, if we do break below 3,600, and if this is in fact a broadening wedge, what often happens is, and I'll just kind of draw it out here, especially if price ends up coming back up here and testing the top of this zone and then just breaking down, what we could see is something like this. Let me draw it out here. What we could see is something like this. Price coming back up here, faking everybody out, breaking through that resistance of 41.20, but again, only by a wick. Remember, we need to see a daily candle both opening and closing above that 41.20 if we are going to have a decisive break. So very quickly breaking up above here, faking everybody out, hitting resistance, and then just collapsing right back down. And if that does happen, guys, what often happens on a broadening wedge is price ends up falling down to where the wedge began. So that would be in the top of this zone here, somewhere around 3,400. So this is a real possibility, guys. And I know I'm kind of speaking out of both sides of my mouth. I'm saying there's a possible bullish scenario here where price breaks down and then crashes back up. Possible bearish scenario, price breaks up, crashes back down. Yes, I realize that, and that's because we are seeing all indications of, or we are seeing real possibilities, indication of 2 real possibilities here, and I want to make sure I tell you both. The easiest thing for me to do would be to put my bull hat on and tell you that probability is for price to break up. That gets everybody excited, gets people FOMOing in, and it gets me a lot more clicks and a lot more likes. I'm not going to do that, guys. I'm going to give you my honest opinion. My honest opinion is here. If you want to take a quick scalp trade targeting about 3,650 to 3,700, buying down here, selling at about 3,800. That's the only real trade setup I'd see at this point, unless you're dollar cost averaging in for the long haul. But as far as day and or scalp trading, that's the only trade up I see at this point. But if you want to play it safe, and personally, I would sit on my hands and wait for price to break out of this this pattern here, this wedge pattern here. And once it does, I'd trade based on how price ends up breaking out. I would not roll the dice because this would be a very, very risky play here. But if you do, make sure that your stop losses are very, very, very tight. All right, I'm going to go ahead and wrap Bitcoin there. If you have any comments, questions, suggestions, please let me know in the comment section below. As always, would appreciate an upvote if you have enjoyed this content. Till next time, guys, please trade safe. Take care of yourselves. This is Working, signing out.